We're going to do a deep fury Warglaive test on the target dummy that's boss level. Because of my gear and my itemization, I don't need to spec into precision in order to be special hit cap. And because Warglaives have such a high amount of threat, missing a few attacks is actually better for PvE environments. Normally you would want to take that talent if you're under hit cap, but I'm at 9% hit. So really I would just be increasing my white hit attacks. As you see, I'm 81% hit here. But it's negligible because you're rage dumping with special attacks anyway, so they're guaranteed to hit. We're gonna do a 500 attack test here. Probably be around 10 minutes long, which is typical for most boss encounters. We will be using self buffs, which means self cooldowns, racials, and keeping up Sunder armor. But I will not be using sweeping strikes because normally on a boss encounter, you don't have the ability to hit 3 targets. However, here, my whirlwind may hit 2 or 3 of these dummies just based on the placement. I will maintain my positioning behind the dummy to avoid parries. I do wait until all the debuffs are up. My rampage is stacked before I start blowing my racials at my cooldown so that I can maximize the effect of the increased attack power. The important thing is to keep Bloodthirst and Whirlwind on cooldown, and then when you're up above around 50 rage is where I like to sit. I start dumping in heroic strikes. I'll be looking to refresh Rampage when it gets below 10 seconds. Based on my crit chance, that's normally a good time to maximize DPS, but not drop the buff on myself. As well as Battle Shout, I'll normally refresh that when Whirlwind and Bloodthirst are on cooldown, because it does have a global. So in 500 attacks, we had a crit on our melee swings of 32%, Whirlwind crit 36, Bloodthirst crit 25, Heroic Strike crit 27, crit tooltip is 32 in Zerger's stance. And as you can see with Warglaive, the majority of your damage is coming from white hits. We don't have any parries, we only have 2 dodges because we have 17 expertise here. So we're not capped on expertise, but we're pretty close. And glancing is a mechanic that cannot be avoided. It's like the 1% passive resist that's normally scripted on spells. Overall DPS is about 1100. Again, this is non-raid buffed and not even any personal buffs outside of what the class gets originally. We would use weight stones on our offhand, which increase our crit and our damage. And we would have Wind Fury on our main hand. We'd be using a Relentless Assault Flask for most encounters, or a Demon Slaying Elixir for demon bosses, which is a pretty significant increase in our attack power. We'd be haste potting on cooldown with our Blood Fury, so that we're maximizing the amount of damage output with the extra swings on the haste potion. We'll also get another 40 attack power from our food buff as well, and including Drums of Battle, which is additional haste that will, if your group comp is organized properly, will be passive haste because it'll have 100% uptime.